Welcome to Venerable Tenzin Palmo, who, just like her namesake, is bearing a name, Tenzin. And I think a lot of Tibetan people or ordained people, lay people, share the name Tenzin. So wonderful, very auspicious. And thank you for wanting to come in and join for the first time at Laksam. I'm the spiritual program coordinator and doing the basic program together with you, Venerable, and
yes,
that's marvelous as well. And I can read that you ordained in 2012,
yeah.
2012, and was ordained by His Holiness as well, and a teaching assistant at Jamia London, and then also studying the master's program at Institute Lama Tsongkhapa in Italy, giving teachings in Prague, where you're from. You are Czech citizen. And just a little curiosity is that in 19, I was in, or was it 18? I was in Nepal, and I just noticed that you were teaching right at that time at the FPNT center there, which has just been starting again with Venerable Sarah Treasure and a friend of Laksam, Sushil. So that's wonderful. And I invited you to come and give teachings on the 6 paramita, how to obtain the 2 bodies of a Buddha, the body and the mind of a Buddha. And I think it's a really nice topic. And welcome everybody for joining in on this wonderful Saturday. And before we go on to the teachings, we would like to offer you a mandala and also offer it to the teachings. Is that okay with you?
Well, please don't offer mandala to me. I mean, we can offer mandala together. Yeah, to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, but please don't offer mandala to me.
All right. Then
yeah, let's offer mandala together to His Holiness the Dalai Lama and other teachers, Lama Zopa Rinpoche.
That's what we're doing.
Yes,
let's do it together. Everybody know the tune. Sashi Perki Yuksheng Meto Tramri Raplingi Nihide Gyan Padi Sange Shingu Mehte Uwagi Dukunanda Shingla Chapaksho Jaitsun Lama Dam Pakienam Kecha Kikala Gense Jin Tri Yita Sampe Duche Mala Sakye Chuki Tava Vaktu So Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamiya Sayami. Thank you, Tara, for screen sharing. Thank you. And I hand over the words to you, Venerable. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a pleasure and honor to be with you this beautiful Saturday afternoon. And we are very fortunate because we can speak about bodhicitta, right? Which is lovely. But before we start doing it, thank you for introducing me already. I mean, I think you said what was enough to say. I was ordained in 2012 with His Holiness Dalai Lama. That's why I am Tenzin, because when you ordain, you always get the first name from the teacher who ordains you. Yeah, so monks and nuns ordained by Lama Zopa Rinpoche are Tuptens, and monks and nuns ordained by His Holiness Dalai Lama are Tenzins. And the name, actually, all the Tibetan names are in some way auspicious, and Tenzin means the holder of the teachings. You maybe mentioned that, but I had some sound problem at that time, so holder of the teachings. And Palmo means something like a heroic woman or something like that. But I prefer to be called Tenzin because I can identify myself better with holding the teachings than being a heroic woman. And yes, after ordination, I did the basic program here in Italy. And then I left for 7 years in Kopananeri in Nepal. That's why you could see that I was occasionally teaching in that Himalaya Buddhist meditation center there. But now I'm back in Italy, and I have just started a couple of days ago. Basically, we started the master program. Yeah. And we are going to have two meetings, right? Two encounters on bodhicitta, which is lovely. This Saturday, next Saturday, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. I will make a short break in the middle so that you can stretch or make coffee or I don't know, whatever, to make it a bit pleasant, let's say, because I really appreciated that you choose your weekend, you know, to spend your weekend time, because I believe that you are busy and weekend is your free time and you need a rest. So I really appreciate that you spend your time listening and contemplating and yeah, on the Dharma, and especially on bodhicitta and the 6 paramitas, which is very worthwhile, of course. But I want it also for you to be a pleasant time, good time. So whenever you have any questions, you can ask me, but also I will try to keep some time towards the end for questions and answers and for discussion if you want to do that. But if not, you know, it's also okay. Not to say is also, not to say anything is also okay. So we will see how it develops. And please, let's start with a little meditation, or, you know, to make sure that we really prepare our mind to listen the Buddha's teachings. So you are probably sitting on chairs as I am, which is perfectly fine, but let's try to find a stable, comfortable position, especially make sure that your back is straight. That's important for meditation, right? So make sure that your back is straight, and check mentally different parts of your body from the top of your head to your feet. And if there is anywhere some little tension or a little pain, try to release it. And let's try to relax our mind also with a couple of deep breaths. We bring it to this moment, leaving behind all thoughts about past or future plans, just concentrating on present moment. So let's do that. Couple of deep in breath and out breath should help us to calm our mind and prepare it for meditation and for listening. And let us remind ourselves of the fact that the conditions we have right now, the life we have right now, it's extremely precious. That we have everything we need to give deep meaning to our lives. And that's not for granted, of course, and it doesn't come without cause. We had to practice lots of virtue and made many stainless prayers in past to be able to get what we call precious human rebirth. And to meet perfect Buddha's teachings, especially Mahayana teachings. But that itself wouldn't be enough if we didn't have any interest or any wish to understand the teachings and practice them. And we also have that. Among all those endless options of what we could do, Saturday afternoon we have chosen to study together, to engage in study. So we can rejoice in that. But also think that there are so many sentient beings who are in much worse situation than we are, who are lacking these fortunes and freedoms, who are undergoing severe sufferings right now. Completely unaware about what is the cause of their suffering and how to avoid create such causes. So let's try to develop strong wish to engage in teachings to help others, in order to help others, in order to help them in the most meaningful, best way, to show them the path which leads to liberation, to perfect happiness. And to be able to do that perfectly, most efficiently, we have to first achieve omniscient mind, to see what exactly sentient beings need and when and how. So this is our purpose, to engage in teachings in the best of our abilities, to achieve Buddhahood as soon as possible. And lead others in the same direction, to the same goal. So take a moment to contemplate all that and to develop such wish or such motivation for these 2 hours spent together, but even better for everything you do. Thank you very much. You can sit comfortably or stretch if you like, whatever you need. And I would like to start with a verse, which is from daily practice recommended by Lama Zopa Rinpoche, actually, so you might be familiar with it. I will try to share it on screen so that you can. Oh no, I cannot. So I will just read it because it's nicely connect bodhicitta with 6 perfections, and it will be a nice introduction into what we are going to speak about. And so the verse goes.
Venerable, I have made you a co-host if you wish to share now. I think.
Oh yeah, maybe it's better because you can read it yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, so I try. Oh, okay, now it's possible. Yeah. Yes, thank you. So it's this one. Yeah. So it goes, independence upon death, meaning upon reflecting on sufferings and impermanence and, let's say, middling scope topic. Even I achieve mere liberation, since there is no sentient being of the 6 types who has not been my father and mother. Please bless me to think I must fulfill their purpose and turn away from the lower happiness of nirvana. Then please bless me to generate precious bodhicitta by equalizing and exchanging myself with others, and to follow the conduct of the conqueror sons, the 6 paramitas, and so forth. Yeah, so this is basically what leads us where we want to be, and we want to practice the 6 paramitas, right? And the background is this one. Yeah, this verse nicely somehow summarize what we want to do. We want to realize the connection we have with other beings and develop the wish to do something really meaningful for them. Yeah. Because we can, of course, practice for ourselves, right? To become calmer and to be able to approach or address our problems in a, let's say, constructive way, without too much stress, without too much suffering. That's all good. And this is what people often have a reason to come to a Buddhist center and to start meditate. And there is nothing wrong with that, but we can go further and we can think about the fact that there are also other sentient beings, so many actually, in different realms of existence, right? Here it speaks of 6 types of beings. So you you probably know that apart from human beings, which we are familiar with, there are other spheres of existence in Buddhism, and many of them are much less fortunate than ours. Actually, all of them are less fortunate than ours, because even gods and demigods who have the most beautiful pleasures, most sophisticated pleasures, and who are completely cut out of from gross suffering, they will face the consequences later in their following life. So being a human being is the best, but there are also other types of existence. And even if we really don't realize it, or maybe we don't think about it in that way, we have really strong connection with other sentient beings. Here it speaks about being our parents, means in past lives. There is this reasoning to how to develop bodhicitta called 6 causes and 1 effect, where we start contemplating the fact that even though there is limitless number of sentient beings, limitless in terms of, and we are unable to count them really, it is not limitless in terms, it's not growing anyhow anymore. Yeah. And the time we exist and we take different bodies and different lives, that's without beginning, right? So we had so many past lives and so many relationships with so many other beings that we can't really say resolutely no to the option that all of them were our parents in one way or another, in one type of rebirth or another. So this is what the verse speaks about. But even if we leave aside past lives, we still can think how interconnected our lives are, how dependent we are on others, right? Because everything we have and everything we enjoy and everything we maybe take pride in, we only have it due to the kindness of other beings. Starting with our parents who taught us the very basic skills we needed to survive, and then our teachers who helped us to learn how to read and write, and other professionals who helped us to learn the skills we use to make money, but also our breakfast and the clothes we have and the house we live in and all that, the means of transport we take, that only exist because of other beings. Yeah, it would be very difficult to survive for us, especially in this 21st century, very global and very interconnected society. And we like the idea of independence, right? And it's, like not be really being independent, but that's from the Buddhist point of view, that's complete misrepresentation. Let's say that we are always dependent on others, always dependent of on kindness of others. And also, as I mentioned in that little meditation, vast majority of sentient beings, they are in much worse conditions than we are, right? So we have this responsibility to help others, also from this point of view, that we really want to repay their kindness and we want to fulfill their purpose. And what is the purpose of others, or what is the purpose of human life in general, or any life actually in general? His Holiness the Dalai Lama often says that we are all the same in wanting happiness and not wanting suffering. Yeah, and this is what, no matter what nationality and no matter how much education and no matter what cultural background, this is what we really want. We want to be happy. Even animals want to be happy, whatever it means for them, right? But everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to avoid problems. Everybody wants to avoid suffering. And even the most terrible things that happened in human history, people did them because they believed somehow that it would bring them some kind of happiness. So the wish to be happy is the strongest force actually leading our actions. But the problem is that we don't really know how to be happy. And as Master Shantideva says, that most sentient beings, they wish for happiness, but in their ignorance, they just create causes for suffering. So to fulfill their purpose means really to show them the best possible happiness, lasting happiness, reliable happiness, which is impossible to find in samsara, but it is possible to find. It's not that it doesn't exist. That's the good news. It exists, and it consists in a perfect, complete Buddhahood, where we want to lead others. Yeah. So we want to turn away from lower happiness of nirvana. That would be liberation from suffering. That would be a Theravada practitioner goal. But that's not a complete, let's say, complete fulfillment, because that would be peace and freedom from suffering just for ourselves. We wouldn't be able to do anything for others. So if we take into consideration all these beings of the 6 types who were our fathers and mothers, and if we take into consideration also the fact that we all have what is called Buddha nature, that it's possible for all of us to achieve Buddhahood, achieve to develop our potential to maximum, let's say, then this is the way we want to take, and this is actually what bodhicitta means, or where bodhicitta takes place. Yeah. What is bodhicitta? We often speak about it, and we often hear about it, and there are different ways how to explain it. But the usual, the maybe the most precise way, or the most common way in Tibetan texts is that the description is that bodhicitta is a main mind accompanied by twofold aspiration or twofold wish, let's say. And the two factors are the wish for complete perfect enlightenment. So nothing less is enough, just enlightenment would do, for benefit of other sentient beings. These two has to be there. Yeah, because if you wish for enlightenment just because somebody tells you it's cool, and you don't take others into consideration, then it's not bodhicitta. And also, if you want to help others, if you want to really dedicate your life to others, let's say, but enlightenment is not included in your wish, then it's also not a bodhicitta. And you probably know people who are like that, and that's also present, of course, in other religions, this idea to help others, and to help poor people, and to help those in need, and to really dedicate ourselves to others' needs. But if there is a component of achieving enlightenment for them is missing, then again, it's not bodhicitta. It's very virtuous wish, but it's not a bodhicitta. For bodhicitta, there has to be both. We want to achieve enlightenment because we want to help others in the best possible way. Also, bodhicitta is sometimes called limitless altruism joined with limitless wisdom, or the best altruism and the best wisdom together. Why is it the best altruism? Because it includes all sentient beings without exception, meaning those who like, those you don't like, those you know, those you don't know, those you have good experience with, those you have bad experience with, all of them without exception. And also you wish the very best for them. Yeah, not just some kind of happiness, but the very best, lasting, reliable happiness. And why is it limitless wisdom? because you know what the best happiness, the Bodhisattva knows what the best happiness is, and also he knows how to get there. And this is through the practice of the 6 perfections we are going to talk about. So this is actually, this is the goal, to bring sentient beings to perfect, lasting happiness, nothing less. It's not, of course, that Bodhisattva wouldn't be interested in momentary problems, and Bodhisattva would try to help any sentient being with any problem they might have. Yeah, and you definitely heard about this socially engaged Buddhism, and Lama Zopa Rinpoche is an amazing example of taking care of poor people and education of children and elderly people. But the final goal is always bringing all sentient beings to enlightenment. Yeah. Because Bodhisattva, before he becomes Bodhisattva, he needs to contemplate the middling scope practices, especially about suffering, right? Because if we don't know what suffering is, we cannot wish others to be free of suffering, which is compassion, basically, right? Compassion is the mind observing all sentient beings and wishing them to be free from suffering. But if we don't know what suffering is, then it cannot work. And without compassion, there is no bodhicitta. So we have to understand first that when we speak about suffering in Buddhism, we don't really talk about the most obvious suffering, like illnesses or extreme poverty or natural disasters or fears or loneliness or disappointment. All these things we imagine usually when we speak about suffering. But when Buddha speaks about suffering, he mostly speaks about suffering of change and pervasive pervasive compounded suffering, which is the very fact that we are unenlightened and that we are in samsara, and that we cannot find complete satisfaction in anything, no matter how we try, no matter how much energy we put in it, no matter how convinced we are that when we get that very thing or that very partner or that very job or that very house, that time we would be happy. Yeah, but it never comes really. So this fact, this dissatisfaction, this lack of contentment, and together with the fact that we are completely driven by karma and afflictions, this is something we need to contemplate before we can develop bodhicitta, because we want to free all sentient beings, especially from these 2 types of suffering. Because to help others, let's say those who are close to us, from the suffering, it's not so difficult maybe to do it, just give them food or give them company or give them good advice, but that's not enough. We really as a bodhisattva, we really want others to be completely free from all suffering. So this is basically the component of wisdom in bodhicitta, to know what suffering is and to know what is the way out of it, plus also ultimate wisdom, wisdom realizing emptiness, which is one of the perfection of wisdom. So I will talk about it more later, but just for now, to realize that the problem, the basic problem we have and the source of all our other problems is that we cannot see the reality clearly, or in other words, we see something which is not really there, and because of that, we cannot see what is really there. Yeah, that we see things in a much more concrete and given way and independent way than they really are, and because of that we expect from them, from things and from people especially, something they can never do for us. Yeah, because we somehow take them as if they by themselves and in themselves were able to bring us happiness or suffering, either or. And if we believe that they bring us happiness, then we react with attachment. And if we believe that from and by themselves they bring us suffering, that we react from aversion. But the fundamental problem is this ignorance, this misconception, let's say, but we will talk about it later. So this is just to somehow try to see what bodhicitta is, and that it's not that any good mind, let's say any virtuous mind, would be bodhicitta, because we sometimes speak like that, right? We sometimes say, oh, he is a bodhisattva, but Bodhisattva is not just a social worker. This is what I'm trying to say, that there has to be this component of wisdom and this component of altruism, and bodhicitta has to have also these two factors of wishing for enlightenment and to fulfill the purpose of others, or the aims of others. And also, you know, as I mentioned at the beginning, we are very fortunate to speak about bodhicitta, or to think about bodhicitta, because you may notice that those great masters who really know, you know, from their own experience what bodhicitta is, who probably have it in their mind, or if they don't have it, then they are very close to generating it. They are always so moved when they speak about it, and you know, they always keep repeating how precious it is. And just the fact that we can hear what it is, and that we can, you know, contemplate benefits of bodhicitta, and contemplate the ways how to generate it and how to keep it in our continuum, that's something really, really special. And I would like to bring to your attention something. I stop sharing this. I would like to, I just put in the chat a link to a video you can watch later. And it's about, you know, maybe you already see it, but if not, you can watch it. It has 5 minutes, and His Holiness the Dalai Lama speaks about bodhicitta in this video, and he starts weeping when he speaks about bodhicitta. Just, you know, just being so moved that something so excellent, so fantastic, that something like that exists. So it was very moving for me to watch it. So that's why I recommend it to you. And this is just, you know, to say that it's very, 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 very fortunate just to hear the word bodhicitta, no matter knowing what it is, or thinking about what it is, and thinking about how we can develop, and how we can actually make it stronger, and how we can take it all the way to Buddhahood. Because of course, the moment you develop bodhicitta doesn't, it's not yet being a Buddha. There is a long way to go from developing bodhicitta, or generating bodhicitta in your mind, all the way till Buddhahood. But it's the most important step somehow. And when we speak about bodhicitta, I said that it is this mind accompanied by this twofold wish. But what we have first, or what we try to achieve first, it's so-called contrived bodhicitta, meaning that when you contemplate other sentient beings, and the way how they might have been our fathers and mothers, as the verse says, and the fact that they were so kind to us, and that it's up to us to repay their kindness, and that the best way how to repay their kindness would be really to be on the best position to lead them out of suffering. So if we contemplate all this, we might have some feeling, let's say, for bodhicitta, or admiration, or at least some temporary wish to really help others. but usually it doesn't stay. Usually it's a result of contemplating all these things. But when we get back to normal life, let's say to our daily life, then we somehow forget about it, and then it somehow vanishes. But to be a bodhisattva, to generate what we call uncontrived bodhicitta, that means that it's with you all the time, that it's natural to you, that it's with you all the time, and that it also, as I said, it encompasses all sentient beings under any circumstances. Yeah, so we wouldn't, as a bodhisattva, you wouldn't really give up on somebody because of circumstances. Yeah, it's more like decision, let's say, than a feeling or some momentary, let's say, state. It's based on all these contemplations and based on decision. I will do this, I will do this, I will achieve enlightenment for the sake of others, because I understand very well all the reasons, and I can relate to them. And yeah, so then it's when we do all these contemplations, then it's stable in our mind. Then we can, yeah, then it doesn't leave us because of some momentary problems, let's say. Yeah. So the first thing is to motivate ourselves to engage in these practices to generate bodhicitta. Yeah, I give again this. Yeah, please bless me, this verse again I'm talking about. So please bless me to generate precious bodhicitta by equalizing and exchanging myself with others. That's another method. I spoke a little bit about those 6 causes and 1 effect. That's one way how we can think about it. Yeah, the 6 causes, we contemplate one after the other, and then the result would be bodhicitta. Yeah, and this is what I talked about. It. The first would be to think of the fact that all sentient beings could have been, at least could have been, our mothers. There is no valid reason to exclude somebody based on the fact that we have had limitless past lives, and we have had all thinkable relationships with other sentient beings. So in one life or another, anybody could have been our mother. And then we want to reflect upon kindness of our mother of this life. Let's say that's probably easiest because we remember it, we remember that experience, and we know that, you know, we wouldn't be able to survive, little baby wouldn't be able to survive without mother. But often they really take care of us even when we are adult, and they worry about us, and they would give us all they have, and they would go through hardships to help their children. We, you know, this we can contemplate again and again, and we would have enough material, I believe, to think about our parents' kindness, or at least our mother kindness. Then we also want to think of the way how to repay their kindness, or develop this wish to repay their kindness, and then we think what is the sufficient way, or what's the best way to repay all this endless kindness of endless lives of endless care, let's say. And a friend of mine, she told me a nice experience about this. She told me that when she went to Kopan, and she had an interview with Lama Zopa Rinpoche. But when she got to Rinpoche looked like, or Rinpoche took the aspect of sleeping. So she was there, and she didn't, of course, she wouldn't want to wake Rinpoche up. So she was waiting, and she was sitting there, and she somehow started thinking about her mother, and that how kind her mother was, and that she would like to bring her a beautiful present from Nepal. And she started thinking what she could buy for her mother from Nepal. And then Rinpoche suddenly said, that wouldn't be enough. Yeah, or that's not enough, or something like that. So she was first she was kind of surprised that Rinpoche was not sleeping, but also, you know, it led her to thinking that, you know, even the most beautiful present from Nepal wouldn't really be enough, yeah, to repay kindness of her mother. So the only meaningful way how to repay kindness of our parents is to help them to achieve the highest goal, the lasting happiness, which should lead us to others two causes, like those are called love and compassion, and we can take first love and then compassion, or the other way around. They are basically two sides of one coin. What we understand by love is the wish for all sentient beings to be happy, and what we understand by compassion is the wish for all sentient beings to be free from suffering. So this is the way how we want to repay kindness of our parents, to make sure that they are happy and to make sure that they are free of all suffering. So these are fourth and fifth, right? We have seeing all beings as our mothers, then seeing kindness of our mothers, then the wish to repay kindness of our mothers, love, compassion, and then the sixth one is what is called universal attitude, or universal responsibility, or special attitude, which would be I myself will do that, taking the responsibility, not staying just with the wish, oh, how wonderful it would be if they were free of suffering, or how wonderful it would be if they were happy. But the sixth step before we generate bodhicitta is I myself will take care of that. I myself take that responsibility. I myself will make sure that something is done for them, for all my mothers and fathers. So this is called 6 causes and 7 methods. But here in this verse I started with, we have exchanging and equalizing and exchanging myself with others, which is actually another which is actually another method how to develop bodhicitta, how to get close to bodhicitta. And when we speak about equalizing and exchanging myself with others, we of course don't speak about me becoming you or you becoming me, but what it means here, exchanging myself with others in terms of how much attention or how much concern or how much love I have. Yeah? Because we are used to take ourselves as the most important people in our life, and we somehow, we are the center of the universe, and then we categorize people according to whether they are useful to us or whether they are helping us to have the identity we want, or whether they fulfill our wishes. So then they are our friends, and if they interfere with what we want, or if they put us on spot, or if they show us in light we don't want to be shown in, then they are our enemies. So usually we pay attention to ourselves and we do everything for ourselves, for our own happiness. So this concern we have for ourselves, we want to have for others, and the way how we don't really let's say how we neglect others, in that way we want to start lowering the interest of our own wishes or our needs in favor for others. So that's why it's called equalizing and exchanging myself with others. And it's also connected with practice of Tonglen, you probably know, giving and taking upon the breath. So I thought next time we can try that meditation together, but not today, because we didn't even start yet speaking about the 6 perfections. But we are getting there. Yeah, we are getting there. We are still developing bodhicitta, and we are still trying to see that it's the most amazing thing ever. Yeah. Like Master Shantideva, he gives all these beautiful epithets for bodhicitta in his book, in his Entering the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. So he says, for example, about bodhicitta, it is the supreme ambrosia that overcomes the sovereignty of death. It is the inexhaustible treasure that eliminates all poverty in the world. It is the supreme medicine that quells the world's disease. It is the tree that shelters all beings wandering and tired on the path of conditioned existence. It is the universal bridge that leads to freedom from unhappy states of birth. It is dawning moon of the mind that dispels the torment of disturbing conceptions. It is great sun which finally removes the misty ignorance of the world. It is quintessential butter from the churning of the milk of Dharma. Yeah. So again, we are very fortunate that we know what bodhicitta is and that we can aspire to generate it. But as I said, it's not, to generate bodhicitta, it's actually the beginning. It's the very beginning, because you might know that generating bodhicitta means entering the Mahayana path. Yeah, strictly speaking, we are not on path yet, because entering the Mahayana path means generating bodhicitta, and just for curiosity, entering the Theravada or Hinayana path, but better to say Theravada maybe would be to generate renunciation. Yeah, but before we have either of those, we cannot really say that we are on the path, but we can aspire that way for sure. And once we generate bodhicitta, then we need to let it grow stronger. Yeah, as we say in that famous prayer, we say, may the precious bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow. Well, first of all, arise, but that's not enough, but we need to make it stronger, of course. But also that which has arisen, may it never diminish, but increase more and more. So it's not enough to generate bodhicitta, but then we have to take care of it. Basically, it's not enough to have the wish to achieve enlightenment, but then we have to really start doing something, creating causes for enlightenment. And because we know that enlightenment is an amazing state, we need amazing causes for it. We need what they call collection of merit and wisdom. And the first 5 perfections we do for the sake of merit, and the last perfection we do for the sake of, or we practice to complete this collection of wisdom. And these collections of merit and wisdom, they somehow correspond to the Buddha bodhis, which are not really bodies in the physical sense of the word, but they are kind of collection of qualities again, and the wisdom would lead to Dharmakaya, so-called Dharmakaya, Buddha's omniscient mind, and the collection of merit would lead to so-called Rupakaya, which is the form body of the Buddha, which is actually the way how Buddha connects with sentient beings, because sentient beings cannot perceive Buddha's mind, but they can perceive emanation bodies or enjoyment body in Pure Land. So this collection of merit would lead to the fact that we would really be able to, as a Buddha, we would really be able to connect with others. Yeah. So now we are finally getting to the last line, which speaks about to follow the conqueror's stance, to follow the conduct of the conqueror's sons, the 6 paramitas, and so forth. So this is, after an extensive introduction, we are getting to what we are actually going to speak about. The conduct of conqueror's sons basically means to keep bodhisattva vows, let's say, and bodhisattva vows are somehow related to the 6 perfections we are going to speak about. And you might be interested why there is this word so forth. Yeah, because they say that the 6 paramitas really contain everything we need to practice to achieve Buddhahood. That somehow, it's completely exhaustive. But this so forth refers to the way of taking care of disciples, let's say, because we are accumulating those 2 collections of merit and wisdom in order to achieve Buddhahood. But at the same time, Bodhisattva already does something for sentient beings. And the best thing to do for sentient beings is to teach them the Dharma, of course. And there are 4 ways of gathering disciples, which basically consist in taking care of their needs and helping them in whatever way they need, and speaking pleasantly to them, or in a way they can understand, let's say, and giving them good advice according to their needs. And also, which is very important, to always act according to what we say, or for a bodhisattva, always do always really be an example of what he is teaching. Yeah, so this is just if you were curious what this so forth would be, but we will concentrate mostly on the 6 paramitas. And before we do that, let's take a little break because now we are in the middle of our today session. So let's take, let's say, 10 minutes break. And after the break, because I was talking all the time, you can if you have any questions, you can ask them. Yeah, so this I stop so I can see you again. And now in my computer is 57, so I will start again at 2:07. Yeah.
Hello, Ariella. Hello, Ariella.
Lars. Hi, Lars.
Hi, Lars.
How are you? I was talking to my daughter.
Ah, all right.
How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Did she say that she's from Czech Republic and she's living in Italy at the moment?
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
yes. She's just started the master's program at the institute in Pomaya.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's a long one. It's a big one.
Yes.
Next step after the basic program. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. I think I'm 2.5 years into the basic program right now. So starting next month again with engaging in the Bodhisattva's deeds. So
Wow.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, the studies with the conducting a normal life, a family, work, children.
Yeah.
It's a little bit difficult.
Yeah, with doing the retreats at least, because I mean, you need to take a vacation. You both need to honor the vacation with the family, and then also the vacation with what's going on retreats. So
Retreat,
I mean,
and you also need to work.
yeah, that's
You
it.
can't take days off forever from work,
No. No. And I also want to go back to Nepal. So really, yeah.
Yeah. I also am all the time planning and dreaming. How am I going to get myself to Copan?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
But
not even dreaming about spending a month there.
Yeah.
1 week, 10 days will be.
Yeah. And I can say it like this: I'm considering doing a Laksam pilgrimage in October 24, with us going there. That might be an option, and we're gonna book teachers along the way and go to various sites. And yeah, Tara is smiling.
There's Tara.
Yeah, and see if we can bargain in some discounts for hotels, accommodation.
Wow, that would
Traveling
be
around.
great to do it as a group, as a Laksam group.
Yes,
That
yes,
would be great.
Go to the caves close by Kathmandu for Padmasambhava, have teachings there. Kopan, various stupas, maybe even going to Maratika caves, which have just been reopened maybe years ago, but still I haven't been there. And it's
You know that in my dream budget list, Kathmandu, Nepal is not that expensive.
No.
Not even the good hotels in Nepal, not even the
No,
fee to stay at Kopan. It's like $200 for a week with courses. I'm talking about the 1 week, not the rain season. It's not that expensive. Nepal is not that expensive.
No, it's the flight ticket and taking off from work.
That's yes, and leaving the kids. I'm raising my daughter alone. I don't have my other half to. So that's also I need to see.
Yeah, but more about that, because we need to prepare for the Neville's return. But that's something I'm working on. But patience.
Yes.
But that would be really lovely. And
absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
How are you, Tara? Any news on what's going on in Turkey?
No. It's still not good.
Not good.
Yeah.
The Israeli delegation is rescuing so many people.
Yeah. We are back. We're back.
Hello.
Welcome back. Oh, you need to unmute.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, but still we have 1 minute, so.
Yeah. one of my citizens, she's from Syria. She's a refugee in Denmark. She came crying this Monday. Oh, I cannot work today, Lars. Oh, I'm so sad. So it's really bad. She says, not my family, but I know about many families. She's from the Kurdish area in Syria.
Yeah.
So terrible.
Mm.
Yeah, she was crying and wanted to
If
show.
you cannot do anything for them.
No. And she hasn't got any money. I mean, she's a refugee in Denmark, so obviously she cannot do anything than just passively sit and observe the misery. That's really bad. Yeah. All right, it's 7 minutes past and we are ready.
Yes. So if you are ready, yeah, just welcome back. And as I said before, I was talking all the time, talking without break. So now if you have any questions, or you can just tell me, because I don't know you, yeah. So I don't really know if it's too easy for you what I'm saying, if you already know that, or if it's too difficult, or if it's too quick, or if it's too slow, or so you can maybe tell me if there is any, or if it doesn't make any sense, then I can try to make sense of it on the second attempt. So you can tell me anything, related to what has already been said, and yeah, or if you have any questions to what I said or to anything else. But if not, that it's fine. It's not that you have to say something, because I myself, I don't like it when somebody forces me to speak when I feel that I don't really have anything to say. So yes.
I'll say something quick. I don't think it was too fast. I thought it was nice, and I really like that you used the prayer to discuss getting bodhicitta and then up to the 6 paramitas. So I thought it was very nice.
Oh, thank you.
It was understandable. Very nice. Thank you.
That's very.
Yeah.
And I would like to open.
Yes.
I would like to open with a question that diverts a little to the contrived bodhicitta. Maybe it ends up more as a discussion. The thing is, intellectually, I understand contrived and uncontrived.
Yes.
But thinking about being uncontrived, the very minute it becomes conceptual of thought or volition, doesn't that make it a contrived again? So, I mean, how does it become just absolutely spontaneous, not thinking almost?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Well, that's a very good question, actually. And it will, to start with, before you become Buddha, bodhicitta will always be a conceptual mind. It won't be realized directly somehow. Yeah, at least this is what the students in Seraja study, and what I studied in the nunnery. The reason being that you cannot, unless you are Buddha yourself, you cannot observe or realize enlightenment directly, and the observed object of bodhicitta is enlightenment, right? So the difference between contrived and uncontrived cannot be that one would be direct and one would be conceptual, but it's more like when it's contrived, you have to push yourself in it. Let's say you have to remind yourself of it, you have to set your motivation, you have to keep contempt. While when it is uncontrived, when it's real bodhicitta, then it's there naturally, kind of. That doesn't mean that it cannot degenerate, and there are all these stories you might heard about, even in Bodhisattva's way of life. There is it speaks about bodhisattvas who gave up bodhicitta, but it's always somehow upon a reason, upon a bad experience. Maybe I can give you an example of Shariputra, who used to be bodhisattva, but then he met a demon. Yeah, somebody interfere, somebody who was not really happy with him practicing the Buddha teaching, and he asked him for his right hand. Yeah. a bit strange, but he asked him for his right hand, and because he was high level bodhisattva and he had no attachment to his body at all, then he cut his hand. But the problem is that he cut his right hand off, but he had to give it to the demon with his left hand because right hand was already cut off, no? And in India, they consider left hand to be dirty, right? Yeah. So the demon somehow got offended or something, and when or he even spoke bad words, and Shariputra was so disillusioned and so disappointed by this experience that he said to himself, "I'm giving up, bodhicitta, all these sentient beings, and it's too difficult with them, and I'm going to go for personal liberation." And there are other stories like that about Dignaga, for example. But Dignaga was saved by Manjushri from giving up bodhicitta. But this is just to say that it still can happen that you give it up. But probably unless you have such a strong bad experience, then it's somehow present all the time. And it colors, let's say, everything you do, everything you think, it's always there, and other things are under the, and other things you do and you think are under the influence of bodhicitta. Yeah, while when it is contrived, it's not like that yet. And I heard a beautiful example somebody gave that, before you have uncontrived bodhicitta and you wake up in the morning and you hear the birds singing, then you would think, oh, such a beautiful morning and such a beautiful bird song. But once you have uncontrived bodhicitta, then your thought would be, oh, these beautiful sentient beings, they have this bad rebirth of being bears and I have to do something for them. Yeah. So somehow this is to illustrate that uncontrived bodhicitta is always there without really needing to awaken it during the meditation session, basically.
Thank you. Cyril, did you have a question?
Just the text refers to the conqueror's son. Could you explain what that means?
Oh, yes. I should have done that. Conqueror's sons are bodhisattvas. Sometimes it is translated as conqueror's children. Yeah, that bodhisattva doesn't have to be a man. But what the reason why it says son is, again, that in Indian culture, what basically your identity or even your citizenship was decided according to your father, not according to your mother, let's say. So somehow son was more descriptive about these things. And why the bodhisattvas are Buddha's sons or Buddha's daughters, because they somehow uphold the lineage. They walk the same direction the Buddhas themselves did. Yeah, so that's kind of epithet for bodhisattvas, one of many conqueror's children, conqueror's sons. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. No other questions? So then we can continue with the 6 perfections. I think we are going to speak about 3 of them today and 3 of them next time, but let's see how it goes. What are the 6 perfections? I guess you know, but you know, right? But I can say myself because we are not at school, but I think we speak about perfection of generosity, perfection of ethical conduct or morality or ethics, then perfection of patience, perfection of joyous effort, perfection of concentration, and perfection of wisdom. And the Tibetan word for perfection is parchin, which is parol tu chinpa. And there are several ways how to translate it, like far-reaching or gone beyond or transcending. Yeah. So it kind of implies that not every generosity is perfection of generosity. Yeah. And not every joyous effort is perfection of joyous effort. And what makes them perfections, what makes them perfections is bodhicitta motivation. And For some Buddhist philosophical schools, they are only really perfected at Buddha's ground. And for some other schools, they are perfected on respective Bodhisattva grounds. But in any case, what really makes them special is bodhicitta, is bodhicitta motivation. If you give motivated by bodhicitta, then it's of course different from giving just to relieve a temporary problem, which is still good, still virtuous, but even worse, just give things you want to get rid of, or giving things and expecting something back, or yeah. So bodhicitta motivation makes it to be perfection. And we want to look at them from a practical point of view. Let's say we want to see what we can do to leave imprints of them in our minds already, even before entering the bodhisattva path. So when we no, maybe another thing I should say, there are 6 of them, as we said. It is said that they comprise all the practices Bodhisattva needs to do, and they are also somehow in the order in terms of how difficult it is to practice them. So it's easier to practice generosity than to practice morality, and most difficult is to practice wisdom. Sometimes they even say that the first 3 are to be practiced by lay bodhisattvas mostly, while ordained bodhisattvas should concentrate especially on the last 2, on concentration and wisdom. But in any case, when we practice the 6 perfection, we should somehow try to include them all in one. Meaning, when we practice generosity, it should be accompanied by ethical conduct, which means never giving anything which would harm, which could harm others, because as we will see, ethics is mostly about restraining from giving harm to others. We should be patient when we give. We should do it happily with just effort. Let's say we should be mindful, and the component of wisdom is also very important, because we should really give things which would be beneficial for others, and not to give them anything. Like, you wouldn't, very simple example, you wouldn't give a knife to children, for example, even if they wish for it very much, but you wouldn't just do it. So we also need wisdom to decide whether things are beneficial for others or not. So we should try to somehow connect all perfections with the one which we are practicing in that moment. And especially they should be connected with wisdom, they say, in terms of trying to realize emptiness of that very act, and emptiness of receiver, and emptiness of giver or agent, and action and recipient of the action. But I will talk more about that when we speak about perfection of wisdom. But somehow we should try to be always aware of the fact that things appear in one way to us, but they exist in another way. Yeah, we should not, because as I said already, all our problems, all our mental afflictions are rooted in this misrepresentation of reality. So the more we remind ourselves of things existing in another way than they appear to us, the more we are in accord with reality, and the better our progress would be, and the less strong our afflictions would be. So that's also something. Yeah, we should try to practice them all together, and we should try to be aware of emptiness of so-called 3 spheres. And when we speak about generosity, it is, they say, willingness to give. Let's say, very simply speaking, willingness to give, meaning it's more the mental attitude than the action itself. Yeah, because Shantideva says in his entering the Bodhisattva way something like, you know, the perfection of generosity doesn't mean eliminating all poverty or eliminating all needy people, let's say, because if it was like that, then the existing Buddhas couldn't have completed perfection of generosity, because there are still people in need, there are still poor people. So it's not really about the result of your action as much as about the mental attitude or the wish to give, wish to share, wish to give. Yeah. Also, we can describe generosity as a sincere desire to give whatever is necessary to those in need. Yeah, sincere desire to give whatever is necessary to those in need, which is quite nice. Perfectly free of stinginess, wanting, or, you know, like attachment. We should give joyfully, without hesitation, without expecting things back, and of course with bodhicitta motivation, with the wish that what we give is useful to the person to make progress on their path. They always say that we should we should start giving little things, or, you know, start with what we can do, what we can give, because if we give something and then we regret it later, it's not very good. It kind of spoils our virtuous action. So it's good to start with where we are and to give what we can, and with the wish to be able to give more in future. Advanced bodhisattvas are also able to give away their bodies, yeah, or parts of their bodies, as I mentioned with Shariputra. But if you probably know the story of Buddha when he was not Buddha yet, in one of his past lives, when he offered his body to the hungry tigress. If you like Nepal, then you certainly visited the place, right? Namo Buddha. But this is just to, you know, this is just to say that this can really, this wish to give, or this wish to share what you have, can really be taken very, very far. And at some point you might be able to, you know, not only able, but to wish to give anything you have, including your own body. And they say that bodhisattva do it as if it was nothing more than a vegetable. So this is maybe something we cannot imagine at the moment. So that's why we should start where we are, but we should try to really motivate ourselves to be willing to share, to give. And it doesn't have to be material things, as we will mention later, but to motivate ourselves to share, to give. We need to see benefits of generosity. We need to contemplate benefits of generosity. And Asanga speaks about it in his Compendium of Perfections, meaning the 6 perfections. So it's a relevant text. No, sorry, it's not Asanga, it's Arya Sura. It's Arya Sura's Compendium of Perfection. And he says, generosity brings worldly and supramundane happiness. Not giving brings suffering, even in this life. Suffering even in this life. Human wealth is like a shooting star. Even if you don't give, it quickly disappears. Even if you don't offer it, even if you don't give it away, it quickly disappears. Meaning human wealth. So there are some things to consider, maybe to think about. So generosity brings worldly and supramundane benefits or happiness, it says. Worldly benefits in a sense that we ourselves will be finally happy when we share with others, and when we see that others enjoy what we give, and that others are happy, and that it helps them, and that it somehow diminishes their worries, let's say, and give them mental space to think of other things, not just about their own needs. And supramundane happiness, that is basically the path, the spiritual path, progress on our spiritual path. But he also says not giving brings suffering, and that might be important to think about, because we might think that if we keep things for ourselves, then we somehow make sure that we will have what we need, and that it helps us for future, and that we won't be worried. And so in which sense not giving brings suffering? Well, I think it's just because it somehow strengthens our attachment to our things, to our possessions, and in that way it strengthens our suffering, because you can notice that probably, from your own experience, the most attached people are to their possessions, the more they suffer, because it's in nature of things that they break, that they get stolen, that they get damaged, and the more attached you are, the more you suffer. And then there is no way out of this suffering, because it keeps happening, right? That the new car would get stretched, and I don't know what, new house would be burgled, or things like that. So the more we are attached, the more we are stingy, the more endangered sort of we would feel, and less relaxed we would be. While if we create this habit of sharing and of giving, then that leads to relaxed mind, and that leads to happiness, even from worldly point of view, as he mentions. Yeah, leaving aside the fact that by giving with good motivation, with bodhicitta motivation, we accumulate this collection of merit we need to achieve Buddhahood. And also it says human life is like shooting star. You know what shooting star is, right? It's the one that, like, you can see it and then it disappears. It's not all the time on the sky, but you can just, it's the one with the tail, let's say. So even if you don't give things away, you will lose them anyway. Yeah, but it's good to, so then it's better to use them to benefit others. Even if you don't give, it will quickly disappear. It might disappear during our life, but the latest possible, we will be deprived of it when we die. So it's good to give things to others. But as I mentioned, it doesn't really need to be only material things, because there are actually three types of generosity. Three things we can give. We can give material things or material gifts, but we can also give fearlessness, as it is called in texts, and we can give dharma, and that is considered to be the best generosity. The generosity of dharma is considered to be the best generosity. And we should always give with the right motivation, meaning thinking of the highest benefit of that person we want to help, not just temporary, but with this wish to keep helping the person all the way to Buddhahood. And we shouldn't expect anything back. We shouldn't give to show ourselves off, but that's probably common sense. And we shouldn't give harmful things, of course. Yeah, because we don't want to harm people, we want to benefit people. What do we mean by giving fearlessness? It's basically help in difficult situations, let's say, maybe shelter, or just advice, or just our company, but mainly in difficult situation. And it's important to know that it's not only for human beings, but also for animals. Yeah, we can give fearlessness to animals when they need. We can liberate them from danger of death, and we can give them a place where they can live without stress and happily till the end of their life. And yes. But as I mentioned, the most meaningful thing to give is the Dharma. And giving Dharma, it's not necessarily really sitting on the Dharma seat and teaching others in a formal way, but it's also an advice in accordance with Dharma. Yeah. So even people who are not really trained to become Dharma teachers, they can still give Dharma because it includes the good advice we give to people according to Dharma, according to ethical principles. Because it happens to everybody. I think that sometimes people approach us and they are desperate and they need our advice. So if we manage to somehow turn their point of view in the right direction, you know, if we manage to somehow pass on the message that is good not to harm others, and that everything is in cause, and everything that is happening to us is in a cause and effect relationship. If we can somehow help others to think that direction, then it's generosity of Dharma. So it's not really strictly confined to teaching on the formal occasion. So it's open to all of us, this possibility to give Dharma in terms of giving Dharma advice. Yeah. So that's about perfection of generosity. And the next one is perfection of ethics or ethical discipline or morality. And what I find quite beautiful, that the word for perfection of, or not perfection, the word for morality or ethical discipline in Sanskrit is shila. And I heard it also mean coolness. Yeah, this shila, and it probably has to do with some kind of relief from harm, or from giving harm, or from mental afflictions. Yeah, they are, because they are often somehow described as being burning, giving really like burning us and making us really hot and hot tempered, or while moral discipline is cooling. It's like moonlight, let's say, and so it's a nice connotation when we say that something is cool. Yeah, that moral discipline is cool, actually, because it helps us to cool down when we are heated up. And basically moral discipline is avoidance of harming others. That's the main type of ethical discipline. And it's not only physical actions, but also we should also restrain from mental, from thoughts of harming, let's say, even because, as we know, the action starts in our mind with our motivation. So it's good to avoid even wish to harm or even thought of harming, because that is already, actually, thought is already a karmic action, and it already leaves an imprint. So even mentally we should try to avoid thinking of harming others. And what I really loved when I met Buddhism and I did my first Kopan course, it was in 2008, and the teacher said that, and this is, I think that was one of the big reasons why I fell in love with Buddhism, and when I wanted to become a nun almost immediately. He said that in Buddhism there is no justification for harm for any purpose to any being under any circumstances. Yeah, so this is what we should keep in mind as bodhisattvas, that we want to restrain from harm no matter what. But for bodhisattva, it's not only avoiding harming others, but it's also actively benefiting them. Yeah, there are again 3 types of ethical discipline, as they were 3 types of generosity. There are also 3 types of ethical discipline for bodhisattva. And first one is avoiding harming others, but then also practice virtue to create merit. And then third one is actively engage in helping others. So not only that we don't want to harm others, but we can do the opposite for them. We want to benefit them. Avoiding harming others is mostly related to avoiding the 10 non-virtuous actions, which is the most somehow obvious or most common harm we could give to others. Yeah, like we want to completely avoid killing and stealing and sexual misconduct, lying, all the divisive speech, harsh words, all that is harming for others. But also, as you know, the last 3 negative actions are mental. So again, this shows what I already said, that even the mind should be restrained from thinking about harming others. And we should actually try to practice the opposite of not just avoiding the non-virtuous, but actively practice the opposite. So not only restrain ourselves from killing, but to save lives if it is possible. And you probably saw the Tibetans, how cautious they are, and when they see insects on the or earthworm on the path, they would stop and they would take it and they would put it somewhere where nobody can step on it. So it's, you know, if we can develop this mindfulness and this mindfulness of the fact that no creature wants to die, and so then it's very good that we protect lives instead of taking them. We can also give instead of stealing, of course, and cultivate honest relationship and praise others instead of harsh words, pointing out their good qualities instead of criticizing them. So, you know, do the opposite of the 10 non-virtues. Then also part of morality is keeping our vows, right? Whatever vows we hold, we should try to really keep them. We should keep them conscientiously. Be it lay vows or monastic vows, and of course bodhisattva vows. Once we take them, we should really make effort to keep them, to learn them, and to keep them. And we should take any action, any opportunity to create merit with this wish to achieve Buddhahood as quickly as possible. Because sentient beings have to wait for us. Some of them don't have a strong karmic connection with other Buddhas, so they are waiting for us to become enlightened, to help them, and actively engage in helping others. Yeah, whatever Bodhisattva can do for others, he would do that. And then the third perfection, and the last one I want to speak about today, it's a perfection of patience. And usually when we say patience, we imagine maybe something like not getting upset when we have to wait on traffic lights or something, or when we have to wait in a line when we want to go shopping or something like that. But here we speak about a mind which remains at ease facing difficulties. Yeah. Mind which remains at ease facing difficulties, which is something very useful, of course, and something we need, because to achieve Buddhahood is not easy. And they say, the texts say that it takes, to the most sharp bodhisattvas, it takes 3 countless eons from the moment they enter the past, from the moment they generate bodhicitta up to Buddhahood. It takes 3 countless eons. So it's really something we need patience for, and we have to be ready to bear hardship. His Holiness the Dalai Lama often says that the true practitioner has to be ready to bear hardship, that it would be really unrealistic to expect that everything would be easy. Yeah, that from the moment we start practicing Buddhism, it doesn't really mean that we won't go through problems anymore, and we have refuge, but it doesn't mean that, you know, that we wouldn't have problems anymore, that we wouldn't, that everything would go smoothly. So it's really worthwhile to develop this quality, this perfection of patience. And for that we actually need problems, because when things go well for us, we cannot see how much at ease our mind would be facing difficulty. So to strengthen this mental muscle, let's say, or to develop this quality of forbearance, we really need problems. So they are, as His Holiness the Dalai Lama says, our enemy is our best teacher in this regard. So when we are facing problems, we should remember that it's very good for our development of patience. And patience here has 3 aspects: being able to ignore harm caused by others, ability to endure mental hardship of physical suffering in the course of what we are doing, and also fortitude to contemplate the ultimate nature of reality, what we call patience of Dharma. But we certainly need all of them, but let's start with the first one, being able to ignore harm caused to us by others. The normal way how we, well, I don't want to say normal, because it's not actually normal, it's actually sick, but the way how most people would react to harm would be with anger, right? Or with the wish to retaliate or to somehow punish the person who gives us harm. But Shantideva says at the beginning of his chapter on patience that there is no such harm as anger, and no such fortitude as patience, or something like that, meaning that anger is really harmful from many different points of view. And actually the whole chapter speaks about that. The chapter on patience is one of the longest in the text, and it speaks a lot about all disadvantages of anger, which is something which harms us, it harms others, it harms us in terms of this life, it harms us in terms of future lives. So we should really try our best to reduce anger or to eliminate it completely. And even though most people agree that anger is unpleasant, we still sometimes try to justify it in a way, or society does, and they speak about that fair anger, or let's say justify anger or something. But from Buddhist point of view, there is no good reason really to get angry, and there are so many disadvantages. And you probably heard it already, that a moment of anger destroys so much merit we created in eons or something, so it destroys our merit, it stops our progress on the path, of course, but also from the worldly point of view, it's difficult to live with a person who is angry for others, and it is we often say things we regret later, and we also harm our own health by being angry. His Holiness the Dalai Lama speaks about it very often, that, you know, people who get angry often, they had much worse blood pressure and much higher risk of other problems. And that's not just a Buddhist thing, that has been confirmed by scientists. So from any point of view we want to look at it, anger is really a problem, and we need to develop this capacity to react without anger. And Shantideva offers many reasons, you know, why we should why we should really, first thing, really be determined not to get angry, and what to do not to get angry, because we have to start before the anger actually burst out. We have to start before that. And the way how we can react, or how we can think of it when somebody is giving us harm, there is this famous example of the stick, right? As Shantideva says, when somebody beats you with a stick, then you wouldn't get angry to stick, but you would get angry to that person. But if you think about it deeper, then what is really harming, it's the afflictions of the person, not the person itself, who is completely slave of his or her affliction. So the object of anger, if any, should be the afflictions of that person, not that person himself or herself. And another thing is that if somebody is harming us, then we ourselves had to create causes for that, if we accept the law of karma and cause and effect. So we ourselves had to create causes for that. And while we are exhausting our negative karma by being harmed, the other person is creating negative karma by harming us. So actually the harmer is in worse situation. So logically, you know, we shouldn't be so concerned about ourselves, because the harmer is doing more harm to himself or herself, let's say. So all these kind of reasonings, or, you know, ways how to think about anger is described in this 5th chapter of Entering the Bodhisattva Way of Life. And when we say being able to ignore harm caused us by others, it's doesn't really mean ignore it, because if you can do something to stop others for harming anybody, including ourselves, then we should do it. But we should do it with calm mind. We should try to be free of anger, or free of malice, or really taking into consideration that even that very person who is harming us is one of those sentient beings we wish to benefit, and we wish to achieve enlightenment for their sake. So with this in mind, we can do what is the best for the person, and it's the best to stop, to prevent him or her from harming, also for his own future and for his own karma and so forth. So it's not literally ignoring, but not taking it as a cause for anger, let's say. And the other one is ability to endure mental hardship or physical suffering in the course of what we are doing. And that's related to what I said before, that it's not easy to practice, and it's not easy to achieve enlightenment, of course. And we need that there is a long way to go with many obstacles. So we need to develop mental strength and not to give up easily. And again, Shantideva says here that we should try to get mental strength facing little sufferings like rashes. He gives the example, and then slowly we will be able to react with patience to most severe sufferings as well, because as Shantideva says in this chapter, there is nothing which wouldn't become easier with familiarity. And then the last one is fortitude to contemplate the ultimate nature of reality. And that's related to emptiness again, and to the fact that it may be scary for people to you know, and it may even lead to wrong conclusions, let's say. But even just the fact that we don't exist in the way that we always thought we do exist can be kind of scary or uncomfortable, but it's something we have to go through in order to discover truth, and in order to, because realization of emptiness is the ultimate antidote for all our afflictions, and it's impossible to achieve Buddhahood, let alone, I mean, it's impossible to achieve anything, even liberation from samsara, let alone Buddhahood. Nothing is possible to achieve without realizing emptiness, without understanding reality. So we need perseverance for that, and also yeah, some kind of courage maybe, but definitely perseverance. Shantideva says about patience, it's beautiful that it is the holy ornament which great power. It gives strength to those practicing austerities. It is the stream of water dousing the fire of harmful intent. Patience eliminate harm. Yes, patience clears away harm in this and others' life. So if we can develop patience, we will be happier immediately in this life already, and people will feel more comfortable with us, of course. But from the long-term point of view, anger is really harmful for the spiritual path, and it destroys the merits, and patience is the opposite. So it's it's like a basis for anything we do, because anything we do, we may encounter hardships, and if we have patience, then we will be able to continue. Yeah. It's sure that Geshe Temple, the teacher here, always said it's sure that obstacles will come. It's sure, you know, you can be sure about it. So we have to be ready to deal with them. And even, you know, even for the success in worldly matters, we actually need patience, we need perseverance. So even the more for really worthwhile things, for the path, for the Bodhisattva path, for practicing, we really need patience. We really need to think about long-term benefits, and we really need to realize all the disadvantages of anger. And of course, for it to be a perfection, we need to keep in mind that we are doing all that in order to achieve enlightenment, to be able to benefit others. So this is about the first three perfections: generosity, ethical discipline or morality, and patience. And next time we will talk about last three perfections. And I didn't leave much time really, but if you have any questions or anything you would like to say, then we still have some time. Okay, so in that case, let us rejoice in the time we spend together contemplating these important topics, and let's dedicate our merit created by listening and contemplating the six perfections. so that it really helps us, so that we plant seeds for our future Bodhisattva path, and may these seeds can grow and bring fruit very soon. Maybe we can achieve enlightenment very soon to be able to help other sentient beings in the most meaningful, beautiful way.